And let's start with the first subject. What is a CCP, which is the acronym for Composite Cross Population? Well, this composite cross, emphasize cross population, come usually by crossing a range of lines. Okay, in this scheme, you see on the right, a range of lines, of parallel lines are chosen for different reasons, and then they are crossed. You have different ways to cross. You could cross in a strictly planned way, following a diagonal strategy. I mean, for instance, crossing the parents in pairs. Imagine you have 8 parents, and then you perform 4 crossings by parent. Parent 1 crossed by with parent 2, 3 with 4, 5 with 6, 7 with 8. Then you cross these simple hybrids also in pairs to have 2 double hybrids, and even you can perform a last crossing of these 2 double hybrids among them in order to have a super hybrid, which will be very, very segregating, and this is the starting point of this composite cross population. Okay, this is a way. There are other more simple composite cross population, which can be, for instance, based on 4 parents, which are merely crossed in pairs, 2 simple hybrids, and then cross it to get the double hybrid, and then the double hybrid is the starting segregating population. Or even others are obtained by crossing 3 parents, following a 3 lines hybridization. First, I cross the parent 1 and parent 2, and then I cross parent 3. And this segregating crossing of 3 parents is the starting point for the composite cross population. So these are the planned ways using diagonal strategies to get a composite cross population to start the breeding process to develop future heterogeneous populations. Okay. Other options for start a composite cross population is when you are working with highly allogamous or cross-pollinated species. In such cases, you can start directly putting several plants of the different parents on the field farm, and then leaving them to cross according to their reproductive nature. And then you take the seeds of these supposed crosses, you mix in a bulk, and then you can start this kind of composite cross population, but based on the allogamous nature of this allogamous crop. Okay, this is another option. A second point, the parents must be chosen on the basis of different traits. Which traits? Okay, the parents are not crossed by chance or according to a random concept. Okay, if you are interested in several traits, for instance, adaptation, for instance, tolerance to salty soils, to drought, or you want also high quality level of proteins or vitamins in your fruits, or a specific size or weight of the fruits or the piglets on your cereal or the grains, etc., you must choose a range of parents that complements for all these traits you are interested on. Okay, so this is very important. You must choose parents which provide a good performance on the traits of interest for your breeding objectives. So this is very important. Not to choose parents randomly. It's important to choose the good parents. It's probably the most important thing. Then, once you have this first step of your composite cross population, this crossing, this segregating crossings, these first stage populations are left to evolve on farm under your pedoclimatic conditions. They are aimed to 4 generations, okay, to evolve in the pedoclimatic conditions you are interested in. These populations evolve generation after generation in the conditions you are interested. You are selecting the most useful, or those individuals who which responds better to your breeding objectives, and then you take the seeds of these individuals and bulk mix all the seeds. This is on one generation. These mixed seeds, these bulked seeds, are then sowed again in this condition and evaluated again. This new generation is evaluated, and you repeat the process generation after generation according to a bulk propagation. At the end of this process, for several generations, you will have a mixture of genotypes, and we could call it a population variety, which recombines a mixture of genotypes, which recombines the genetic backgrounds, the genetic factors of the founder parent lines, as you can see in the scheme. Depending on the reproductive nature of this species you are working with, the mixture of genotypes, this final population variety, can be a mixture of almost or highly inbred lines. In the case your crop, your species is highly autogamous, or maybe a still more. Many of you should be familiar about the reproductive system of autogamous or allogamous crops. Regardless, they start from highly heterozygous backgrounds. The selfing procedure, generation after generation, drives towards pure lines or highly inbred homozygote lines. Okay, but in the case of the composite cross population, as you have started from a highly segregated population coming from several parents, the result will be a mixture of very different inbred lines, thanks to this high trend. On the case of the allogamous, generation after generation, the reproductive system is highly cross-pollinated. Therefore, the chosen individuals will have offsprings which come from the selected mother plants, but also from the pollen of whatever. And this is the reason for which, if the crop is allogamous, your final population variety will be very heterogeneous. Following with the concept of what is a composite cross population, as I told you in the last slide, a composite cross population encompasses a wide genetic diversity for their starting nature. Okay, they come from crossing different parents and segregating. So the number of recombination events is very high. This is why they are quite diverse, quite heterogeneous in comparison to ones which are heterozygous but highly, because all the individuals respond to the same heterozygous genotype. Clone varieties, for instance, citrus, every plantation of a variety of citrus, many of you will know, respond or fit to the same genotype, the same clone. So imagine an orchard of Valencia navel orange of 10,000 plants. The 10,000 plants are the same genotype. because they come from clonal propagation, which are highly inbred. They usually respond to the same inbred genotype, and therefore they are highly homozygous. In comparison, the composite cross population are more diverse. You can see in the pictures on the right an example of a composite cross population coming by crossing different bean parents from red ones to white ones, and you can see the segregation after 3 generations of selfings, from red to almost white to different degrees of white and red. So this is an example on how composite cross population can be heterogeneous in terms of morphology, but also in terms of genes in comparison to F1s, clones, or inbred varieties. With composite cross population, we must also think that, okay, they are quite diverse in comparison to other modern F1s in vegetables or in other crop species or clones. So this diversity, this heterogeneity is not advantageous in terms of trying to achieve the most excellent performance, because in comparison, imagine a vegetable F1, a tomato F1, for instance. These varieties have been bred and selected to work under usually high input conditions, very strict and very specific conditions under, I can provide you the example of Spain, very specific conditions of greenhouses. Even in the case of peppers, in the Almeria season of peppers, there are F1 varieties which are selected for different showing dates. There are pepper varieties for the first 2 weeks of showing period. Then there are others that have been selected for the weeks 3 to 4 in the showing season of Almeria, because the difference in temperature, 1 degree from 2 weeks and 2 weeks, it's so important that it is necessary in Almeria to select varieties specific for each period, even within the same season, for the earlier varieties to a bit later varieties. So imagine the specificity of these F1 modern varieties. They are bred to achieve the most excellent performance, but under very, very specific and usually high input conditions. Okay? Under these conditions, composite cross populations cannot compete, okay, because their own genetic diversity does not provide to fit to such excellence, okay? But on the contrary, this diverse genetic background they have by nature make them resilient and adaptable, and there are room and farming conditions for these kind of varieties or population varieties. They are more resilient and adaptable than modern varieties. They are not as excellent in terms of yield, in terms of homogeneity of the fruit size or the grain size or the level of protein in the flour. Okay, but they are stable. They are stable in yield. They are stable against changing conditions. For instance, the climate change, because they advance, they co-evolute thanks to this diverse genetic background. They co-evolute generation after generation together the pedoclimatic conditions. In addition, the remembering the scheme I showed you in the previous slide, the bulk propagation after selecting the best individuals favors genetic mixture. Okay, keep the genetic mixture. It's not a pedigree selection method which goes for a highly inbred variety or to have highly inbred lines for future hybrids. On the contrary, maybe I'm selecting the best individuals, but with the decision of leaving to cross-pollinate these selected individuals and mixing in a bulk strategy their seeds, generation after generation, I keep their diverse genetic nature. And this is, in the last years, it has been highly considered as a strategy for organic and other low input farming conditions because of this resilient, adaptable, and stable nature. Other aspects or issues related to why composite cross populations, according to the first comment I made, I say that they are resilient and diverse. They are very useful when used in resilient and sustainable farming systems, which are based on diversity. Why? Because resilient, this part of the agri-food sector based on sustainable practices and resilient farming, the higher the diversity we provide on this part of the agri-food sector, the more resilient they are and the more sustainable. And we can increase this genetic diversity of this agri-food system in two ways. First, promoting the use of land races in my region, in your region, to promote and improve and valorize your own land races, local varieties, ecotypes, etc. On the whole, we will be promoting the use of diversity in the shape of intervarietal diversity. Our country will have part of their agri-food sector based on several varieties of tomatoes, several varieties of peppers, etc. So this strategy contributes to increase intervarietal diversity. In the case of composite cross population, their promotion, their use in farming contribute not only to intervarietal diversity by cultivating this CCP, this other CCP, that region, but also by providing intravarietal diversity because they are diverse by themselves. So in this farming system, we have two levels of diversity. The one of intervarietal diversity by promoting the use of different land races and different composite cross populations, but also through the intravarietal diversity provided by composite cross populations. Well, this is for resilient sustainable farming systems. At a genetic level, if we have a great genetic mixtures of individuals, regardless they are from autogamous crop or from allogamous crop, this genetic background encompassed within a composite cross population, this kind of population variety, actually we have a plethora of genetic factors to face challenges, a short term or even a long term, because to face, for instance, the climate change, imagine you are working with a modern hybrid F1. All the individuals respond to the same or fit to the same highly heterozygous hybrid, but all the individuals are the same. So which kind of adaptation can show this population based on just one genotype to the climate change, to the increase of temperature gradually? If the temperature is too high, maybe one day that this variety does not work. Or in case of a new strain of a pathogen appears in our region, this F1, if they has not resistance to the pathogen, will disappear. On the contrary, if you are based on a mixture of genotypes, these populations more resilient. It's more adaptable. Maybe some individuals will not adapt, of course, but others, thanks to this genetic mixture, probably will have the genetic factors, the genes, the alleles that could provide adaptation to this new event or this gradually increasing event like the climate change. So this is what happened at genetic level, and this is a good advantage. And what happens at breeding level? For one side, at breeding level, the selection of the best individuals after generation as breeder, I can select the best individuals. For instance, imagine you are working in your location with 10,000 or 1,000 individuals of this starting composite cross population. I select 50 or 100 individuals, the ones which respond best to my main breeding objectives, 100 individuals. Okay, I'm standardizing the variety towards the traits, the main appearance traits I'm interested. Okay, I standardize it to this. But also, in parallel, these individuals have been selected indirectly by nature selection because they are, as I told you before, co-evoluting with the pedoclimatic conditions. So also nature helps me with the selection. And finally, thanks to the bulk or mass selection procedure, by mixing the seeds of the selected individuals plus the open pollination, I'm shaping the composite cross population towards some standardized, some homogeneity in terms of the main traits, but keeping a good genetic diversity, thanks to this bulk mass selection procedure combined with open pollination. Gives an underlying diversity. In terms of application and advantages in organic farming, these population varieties first contribute to agrobiodiversity, which is one of the principles of organic farming. They, to this genetic diversity, they encompass, they can provide, they have high opportunities to adapt to low input farming because they are recombining the genetic factors of several parents. They are usually populations adapted to local conditions that can be in the hands of small organic farmers. And also an advantage to these organic farmers, they are easy to multiply and maintain because there is no need of buying F1 seeds all the years to the seed companies. So they are easy to keep and multiply and varieties. The application and advantage in terms of organic breeding are that this wide genetic diversity at the beginning, when the composite cross population have started, offers many opportunities to adapt to different pedoclimatic conditions. I mean, thanks to the highly segregating starting populations after the crossings, you can take bulks of seeds or lots of the seeds and try in different locations because thanks to this high number, range, plethora, or recombinant events that have took place in this population, you can start to develop locally adapted heterogeneous materials from the same starting composite cross population. And also that the coevolution during the development enables dynamic adaptation to changing conditions. They are highly advised to develop population adapted to gradually increasing phenomena like climate change, other associated subjects or climatic events like increasing temperatures, erratic rains, like here in the Mediterranean areas. And this is all from the main issues and advantages in organic farming and organic breeding. Well, now the procedure for obtention and development. I repeat, this is very important. This is probably the most important issue. Remember, always choose the best parents. Think about your breeding objectives and choose those parents who fit best to these breeding objectives. This is very important. And then plan the crossings properly. Second, exploit the recombination events. The more parents involved in the first crossings, the higher segregation. This is also important. And recombination events. Another important point, the beginning, when you start with the first selection generations, work with the population as possible. Why? Because the larger these populations, the more recombinant events you will see, and the more opportunities you will have to identify good individuals. On the contrary, if you start with limited starting populations, maybe you are missing a lot of useful recombination events, recombinant individuals. So remember, very important to choose the best parents according to their breeding objectives. Then plan properly the crossings. And also at the first generations, work with population as large as possible. So these are the most important things. After this, you must take into account the selection of the main traits you are aimed to. So I selected these parents for the first crossings for these, then go for them. In order to generation after generation, going shaping in appearance and in agronomic performance the population. But also remember that apart that going to this good performance, shaping the variety, the population variety, the future population variety towards these main traits, don't forget that you need to keep diversity underlying. For that reason, in all generations, ensure you select, you multiply a minimum of individuals selected. Don't be too strict because you may lose a lot of recombinant effects and future useful genes are not that do not respond to the traits you are interested at first, but probably in the future this genetic background diverse must be kept for future events. And also the bulk mass method keeps underlying diversity for other not visible or future traits, as I told you. As a result of this procedure, you will go towards a future organic heterogeneous material, working under organic low input conditions. Alternatively, you have other option. You start with the same procedure, you choose the best parents, this is important. You exploit the recombination events. The more parents involved, the higher segregation and recombination event you will find. And also try to work with large populations at the beginning. But at second alternative, you had also the strategy of performing no selection, just leaving nature to do your work and perform just a easy selection, discarding the worst individuals, but recovering the seed of most individuals which more or less perform properly. Okay? But in this case is leaving nature selection to do the work and repeat the bulk back mixture of the large abundant individuals. Okay? With this strategy, you will have at the end so-called evolutionary heterogeneous populations. Okay? They are not so standardized in the appearance or the main breeding traits like the previous one, but you will have a population heterogeneous and adapted, co-evoluted properly with natural selection, including climate change. So this is another alternative. And access as examples of cross species, There are many in terms of beans, grain species in general. Okay, I have put these examples here in the presentation. Wheat, which is one of the most common crops where composite cross population are aimed at, and maize, another example of maize. The one in winter is an example of composite cross population designed and bred for adaptation to agroforestry systems, which is another concept related to sustainable farming system and organic farming systems, the agroforestry. I don't know if all of you are familiar to this concept of agri-food sector, but it is more or less a combination of forest species intercropping with crop species or vegetables. These enables not tilling, the soil structure is kept by these forest species. Also, shading is provided by these forest species, so it's quite an interesting alternative for the agri-food sector and for a sustainable farming system. And you have here the example of a winter wheat composite cross population who has been based on the crossing of several parents and then has been bred in condition of agroforestry system. You have here the example and the traits evaluated: yield, mainly yield, and other grain traits. You have also another example on maize for their adaptation to the semi-arid environment of South Madagascar. Okay, there are also composite cross populations developed by crossings several land races of and inbred varieties of with different colors, and following a selection process among 30 seed lines. Okay, they have been they are evolved in semi-arid conditions of South Madagascar, and they demonstrate that this has been an innovative adaptative by a population variety based on this composite cross population with very good performance and very stable performance on these extreme conditions of South Madagascar. So this is another example of the utility of the composite cross populations. And you may also think that, as I thought years ago, when some colleagues of me introduced me in the world of the composite cross populations, that as a breeder coming from the biotechnological branch, for me, the composite cross populations at first had sense in the case of, yes, quite low input conditions or extreme conditions like the one mentioned in Madagascar in the last example. Yes, it makes and could make sense in terms of grains, in terms of peas, or which are usually industrially processed and bagged, or wheat, which at the end I don't mind the heterogeneity of the grain of the cereal, because at the end they are grilled and we produce flour. Okay, the end the shape, if the composite population of the grain of this weight variety is not the same in all the individuals, I don't mind. It is mixed in flour. Okay, it makes sense for crop species. But for me, it was a bit hard to understand the concept in vegetables. But vegetables, this composite cross population strategy can be also useful in vegetables. In vegetables, we always think about, okay, the shape of the tomato should be like this, round or flattened, and all the fruit should be the same shape. And why composite cross population? With this very interested work, and including in the slide, developed by colleagues from the from Rete Semi-Rurali, a dynamization collaborating with networks of in Italy. They developed ox herd tomatoes in Italy adapted to different locations and coming from a crossing of 4 parent lines of traditional land races of tomatoes and adapted to 4 different locations on Italy, from north to middle and to South Italy, starting from the same composite cross population. They started by crossing 4 parent lines, and with the segregating population, they started different experiments of breeding and adaptation, and they took advantage of these recombinant events I told you before, heterogeneous materials adapted to very different pedoclimatic conditions, from the north of Italy to the south of Italy. So, and the tomatoes are quite uniform, obviously adapted to the consumers and farmers' preference in Sestola, north of Italy, or in moist, middle Italy, or the location of southern Italy, but according to the local demands. So this is very interesting, and it's an example when you can see that also composite cross population are useful in vegetables. Okay, so this is the general view about the composite cross populations. As I told you, this is in my unit. My was to a general view, the main basis, because the more detailed strategies will be provided, or associated strategies will be provided in the second unit by Professor Pedro Mendes Moreiras. But I think that it has been easy to understand for you, okay? And I put the basis to understand the next units, okay? Now it's time for you to work. I will leave this example. This is a composite cross population and trials on winter wheat developed by several colleagues from the previous project of LiveSeed, and they started with this composite cross population and evaluated in different conditions. So this is quite a nice example of composite cross population development and evaluation and applications. Now it's time for you to work. As I told you, for this unit, we won't ask homework. You will solve today with this work. You will have now 30 minutes. You will believe 30 minutes to work, and have a look to the paper. You have here also the paper. I will copy and paste in the chat, okay? And please go through this paper, read, and try to answer to the questions I put on the right. This is your work, okay? And please provide the answers to my email below, and the Ana Marilla's email also below, which is very important for certificate. So now you 30 minutes for work. Now it's time for you to work, and please finish by 10:50, because at 10:50 we will discuss together. But before that, please send your answers to Ana Marilla and myself. Now I will copy the DOI link for you to download from the chat, and also I will copy and paste the questions, okay, and the mails for you to work at home. Okay, now I will leave sharing the screen. Well, the first question, I repeat, you have time to complete during the next half an hour in the break, if you want. Okay. First question: how was this CCP created? Okay. Is this clear for all of you? Somebody wants to reply? Ricardo, do you want to provide the answer?
Okay. Basically, they cross the high-yielding varieties with high baking quality varieties. And I don't know well how to summarize it.
Well, it is defined at the beginning. Okay.
Yes, because they crossed a total of 20 varieties, but they performed many crosses, basically trying to combine the high-yielding trait with the high baking quality trait.
That's right. Okay, this is on summary. Yes. In more details, they are simple F1 crosses. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Not double hybrids or go forward. Okay. They are simple hybrids combining 8 high yield parents with 11 high quality baking parents. This would give 88 crossings, F1 crossings, and also these 8 and 11 varieties, high quality and high yield varieties, were crossed with another variety which was both high yield and high quality, so another 90. So we have a total of 107 crosses at the beginning. And in addition, probably many of you have discovered that they also included crossings between these 8 high yielding varieties, parents, and 11 high quality parents with a male sterile line. Did you realize it?
Yes, it's at the end.
And for which reason? This is for Ricardo, or this is for another of you? Do you understand what is the reason for using a male sterile line as part of these crossings? No problem, Ricardo. I will.
I'm thinking about it.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Actually, to increase crossing, for instance, Dario has answered on the chat. Yes, is to include in the genetic background of these descents of crossings partly the male sterile trait. Why? To favor outcrossing. Okay, in order to avoid because wet is very autogamous. So at the end, instead increase the number of recombinant events, you will have at the end quite a diverse final population after the breeding process, but mainly pure lines or highly inbred lines because it is autogamous. By contrast, if you introduce, thanks to this crossing, the male sterile trait, you give opportunity to the population also to include partly outcrossing and to contribute to enlarge the recombinant events. Okay. To finish this question, it was very nice coordinated effort because the crossings were performed in the United Kingdom. Then three partners, the United Kingdom, Hungary, and Denmark, multiply the population from F5 to F8, and then since the F8, these populations were shared with among the partners, among these 3 partners and other partners in a sequence process, in a cycling scheme. So the population since the F8 was evaluated here and performance selection al seed bulk. Then for the next generation, based on this selection, was evaluated in another country. It in the process, the selection, the seed bulking, then flying to another country as a kind of shuttle breeding. Probably many of you are for the shuttle breeding, which was also performed in wheat in the 50s or 50s, 60s in Mexico. So it's a cycling process of breeding combining different countries, and also as reference, the United Kingdom, Hungary, and Denmark kept also the multiplying original F8 populations just to compare how these populations kept original United Kingdom, Hungary, or Denmark, and coevoluting on these conditions during several years, have evolved in their genetic structure against the flying population visiting the different countries and comparing and performing comparisons. Okay, so it's quite an interesting experiment. The traits, can you mention the traits or some of the traits? Dario, maybe?
Yes, just a moment.
Sure.
There's
Yeah,
a
there
lot
are
of
several.
traits.
Just mention a few.
Yeah.
Just mention a few.
Yield, protein content, 1,000 kernel weight, throw yield, stem and ear length, harvest index. Am I right?
Yeah, good. There were
also rate of area under disease progress curve.
That's it. Agronomic or morphological parameters related to leaves, which is important. Also the kernels, parameters are very related to kernels, grain yield, etc. And in terms of composition?
In terms of composition?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Quality traits.
What traits? Protein content.
Yeah, good.
And protein yield.
Good. Protein yield, nitrogen, and also some parameters which are quite usual in the quality of the or the baking quality of the wet, like is the falling number or sedimentation value, okay, and gluten content, okay, is key parameters used in baking quality.
I didn't saw that, sorry.
Okay, but as we are a bit late because so I started a bit late, sorry. I will leave for you to finish, if you want, the other questions, okay, for the during the break. We will make a break, don't worry. Advantage and disadvantage, I mean, in the paper, the authors have mentioned some advantage, some good points, some beneficial points of this population in comparison to others, etc. So good spirit conclusions, I mean, and related to further studies, as I answered to Ann Jacobsen, other studies, just mention a few other studies that during the paper the authors have mentioned, other similar studies or treating similar topics. That's all, okay? And any other interesting issue, if you find any other interesting issue on the paper, just mention, okay? But very simple. Don't worry, okay? You don't need to write the Bible, the Holy Bible here, okay? Just to check that you follow the presentation and you have understand the main issues and you can interpret easy issues, okay? But you have time. You can use the break to finish. Don't worry. Because now the last point and the quiz is it can be answered in 5 minutes. Okay. Remember that the quiz here in my units can be directly answered in the body of the email. Okay. So send also your answers to me and to Ana Marilla here, written, okay? And I think you can do it in 5 minutes. It's a very simple question. Advantages of composite cross populations. I mean, which good beneficial points have composite cross populations in terms of everything? Contribution to sustainable farming, adaptability, etc. Okay? A few bullet points would be okay. Okay, so also don't write the Holy Bible here. Now it's time for the quiz. It will take less than 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and send by mail directly in the body of the mail to me and Ana Marilla. It's very simple. Advantages of composite cross populations. I leave you here some examples based on fishes, or heterogeneous potatoes versus clone variety potatoes for your inspiration, schematic inspiration. Okay, I think that in 5 minutes you can do it, and at 11:15 we will be back here to grow up and finishing the session. Okay, so 5 minutes to finish the quiz. Back here at 15 quarters past 11. We are back here again to finish the session. Okay, well, answers to the quiz. Which are the advantages of composite cross population? Somebody can summarize his impressions after the presentation, which opportunities and beneficial points offer composite cross population. Maybe Anne Jacobsen. Anne, are you there?
Yes, I am.
You are? Okay.
I'm sorry, because I was doing the quiz.
Okay.
Okay.
Anna?
The advantage that I choose for CCPs was promote the use of landrace, contribution with intravarietal diversity and genetic diversity too, improving the adaptability, disease resistance, and participatory breeding opportunities. Is like if we get a lot of genetic diversity, we can do work with more genes and more traits and create things.
Okay. Actually, you have summarized it very well. So first, contribute to a more diverse agri-food sector, not only by promoting the use of land races, but also the use of different composite cross population adapted to different locations, but also their own intravarietal diversity, the genetic background underlying they have. For that reason, they also are expected to show stability and resilience and adaptability in a dynamic way against pedoclimatic or biotic stresses or unexpected events. That's right. And also it has because of usually the simplicity of keeping them as some kind of traditional land race or open pollination variety, small organic farmers can keep their seeds generation after generation. And the own farmer or each farmer whose the seeds have been developed or this kind of population variety has been adapted can keep the variety itself in a simple way as traditionally. Okay, so these are the main advantages and good. Finish the grow up and main issues that we have learned today. The more diversity, the more resilience. The mass selection with bulk propagation helps to keep diversity in the populations. CCPs enable plasticity and adaptive varieties. They are relatively easy to propagate and keep by farmers. They fit many organic farming and breeding principles, and they contribute, as we said a few seconds ago, to increase the intravarietal diversity in the agri-food sector. Okay, here in the last slide, you have additional materials aimed at composite cross populations, issues or socioeconomic impacts, etc. So I think they are quite interesting complementary materials. It includes the one of the class work done here. This one of agronomy. Okay, and this is all from my side. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention.